Time now for the Daily Answer, sponsored by Salem Surround on The Answer Now TV.
Did you hear that Zoran Mamdani, the new mayor of New York, called President Trump to express his deep concerns about the raid in Venezuela? Fast Eddie, he's concerned, Zoran is, about our actions in Venezuela. I wonder how that call went. Wouldn't you have given anything to listen in to Trump taking a call from Zoran?
Yeah, I absolutely want to know what the communist mayor of New York City thinks about us removing a communist socialist dictator from, the southern hemisphere.
Yeah, right on cue. All the usuals are defending Maduro. They're all. It's amazing how Donald Trump can get everyone to defend a drug kingpin communist. It's amazing. Anyway, here's a little of the madman, Zoran Madman Mamdani, number 35.
I was briefed by my first deputy mayor, my chief of staff, my chief counsel, the police commissioner, as well as other members of my team. I called the president and spoke with him directly to register my opposition to this act and to make clear that it was an opposition based on being opposed to a pursuit of regime change, to the violation of federal...
He called in opposition to being opposed. That's strong stuff from the new mayor of New York, really. Boy, I tell you what, you take him away from social media and all of a sudden they start to show themselves, don't they? You understand he is a completely empty vessel, an artifice. There's nothing real about him. I mean, his ideology is very dangerous and very real. It's a lot like Barack Obama. Take them away from teleprompters, take them away from speechifying, and they're really pretty empty, other than a very maniacal and dangerous ideology. And I'm going to get into that in more detail in just a little bit. But let's just talk about this broadly, about what it wasn't, what it's not, what Democrats continue to assert it is, and you should know what it is not. We're not at war, all right, Fast Eddie? I don't care who tells you that. I don't care whether it's a supposed Republican or conservative commentator or Democrat or your Uncle Skip. I don't care who says we're at war. We're not at war. It was not a declaration of war. It's not a war, Eddie. So anybody that says, I can't believe Trump launched a war. He didn't launch a damned war, and you don't get to use the word like, I'm declaring it. You don't get to declare war. The president the Congress declares war. You don't declare war. So you don't get to call it a war, Ed. That's the thing I got to right off the top address here. This is not a war.
If this were a war, Lindsey Graham would have been in Marco Rubio's place all over the Sunday shows that we're going to be down there for quite a while. No, you're absolutely right. This was not a war.
This notion, why didn't you take out everyone who's in some position of power or authority down there? It's like, well, we cut the head off the snake. What more do you want? Trump basically said, listen, you think the rest of these guys aren't going to roll with us now? I mean, if they get out of line, they'll know what time it is. But I feel pretty confident now that we've swooped in and effectively taken out the president and first lady acting of Venezuela. I think everybody else is kind of on their best behavior. So this was not a coup in the sense that we're, literally, stationed behind desks running. I also don't accept the idea that we're running Venezuela for the long term. This is not, okay, here's what it also isn't, all right? This is not the Middle East. And I get a little tired of those comparisons, too. Do you think Donald Trump does not understand culture? Do you think Donald Trump is so well, those of you who hate him. Like, I'm not trying to talk to you. I'm talking about people who think that this is analogous to storming into Iran, or Iraq, rather. It is not. Chief among the reasons it is not is because Iraq, the Middle East writ large, is a theocracy. It's an ideology that is not compatible with capitalism, with free markets. Venezuela is not that far removed from a form of government very similar to ours. Do you know that? Did you know that? Has anybody told you that? You should know that if you don't. It's not that long ago that Venezuela was quite prosperous and a democracy and a soft capitalist democracy. So they want to return to that. And the people of Venezuela, by the way, are elated about this. Did you see the celebrations in the streets? Did you see the dancing in the streets? And I'll tell you who's most freaked out about what just went down. Iran. And in fact, I got a story in front of me that all the big dogs in Iran have already got their exit hatch strategy right now to run to Russia in case Trump decides to get uppity and do it to them too. They're freaked out. You know, people in the streets of Iran right now, like they're getting nervous in Iran because they have been watching what's going on in Venezuela. Leadership in Iran is wondering, are we next? The people of Iran are damned green with envy that the Venezuelans have been freed. Now, of course, the difference, again, with the Middle East is Iran has never known democratic rule. Iran has never known a free market. Venezuela has. 25, 30 years ago. It wasn't that long ago. Just like Cuba used to be a thriving island until taken over by a bunch of despots. Much like Mad Manny, by the way, who from the pit of hell said the warmth of collectivism will be chosen over rugged individualism. I mean, that's the scary thing. The guy running New York is Maduro. The guy running New York are the Castros of Cuba. That's where he wants to... You understand that he wants to take New York and this country to where Venezuela was 72 hours ago? So we're not at war. Venezuela is not the Middle East. Also, this is not unconstitutional. This was not unconstitutional. Article 2 powers are very, very clear here. I went over this over the weekend, but I'm going to do it again. Maduro has been indicted by a grand jury here in the United States for drug trafficking. He's a fugitive of justice. He is not recognized as a legitimate leader by the United States. There is precedent for this, by the way. Under Article 2 of the United States Constitution, the President, as Commander-in-Chief, holds broad authority to deploy military forces to protect vital national interests without prior congressional declaration of war, which we're not at. Precedents. Here's a list. Reagan's 83 Grenada invasion to safeguard American lives and counter regional threats. Bush's 89 Panama operation to arrest Noriega on drug charges and restore order there. Clinton's 1994 Haiti intervention to stem a refugee crisis and drug flows. Now, in Venezuela's case, the Maduro regime and their deliberate export of massive amounts of drugs, killing over 100,000 Americans annually, combined with state-orchestrated release of criminals and gang members across the border, constitutes sustained hostile assaults on the United States. That alone fully justifies unilateral executive action to neutralize the source, just as past presidents did when confronting similar threats in our hemisphere. And internationally, Article 51 of the UN Charter preserves the inherent right of self-defense against armed attacks, a right not limited to traditional invasions, but extending to modern hybrid threats where a state weaponizes non-state actors or policy to inflict grave harm. Venezuela's regime has been indicted as a narco-terror enterprise. They actively facilitate deadly flows of migrant surges and drugs across our borders, acting as a proxy. And it demands immediate, proportionate response. No Security Council approval is required when daily lives are lost. This mirrors post-9/11 precedents, by the way, in which the United States invoked Article 51 against non-state threats harbored by failing states, rendered intervention rather than aggression a lawful defense of the homeland. And I remind everyone that Maduro stole the election in Venezuela. Go back and research this. If you don't know this, you should. Even the Biden administration, even the Husk said so. They stole it. He's not the legitimate president. There was a $50 million bounty on the guy's head. The Venezuelan people and the world know the truth. Maduro lost the election in 2024. Blinken, the Secretary of State back then under the Husk, said that in a statement. He said the United States rejects the National Electoral Council's fraudulent announcement that Maduro won the presidential election and does not recognize Maduro as president of Venezuela. The guy has been warned repeatedly it didn't have to go this way, and frankly, it did. And by the way, yes, was it not just about drugs but about oil too? Yes, it was. And the president didn't hide that. You know, I keep hearing the non-interventionist critics saying, this isn't about drugs, this is about oil. Yeah, it's about oil too. We invested a hell of a lot in the Western Hemisphere to pump that oil, and they stole it. We're taking it back.
For full shows, live and on demand, it's Salem News Channel. Stay informed anytime, anywhere with the Salem News Channel and 9:30 a.m. TheAnswer.com. This has been The Daily Answer, sponsored by Salem Surround on The Answer Now TV.